Like, well, look at this. Look at this. Pretty sizable opening range, not gonna lie. Like the sky is falling. Well, I mean, I really don't have an easy task this week to navigate the marketplace. Majority of the time I'm put in place of the chart. The move already happened by far and large, and we saw a large range explode. Just like that. Well, interesting nonetheless, I would say. But yeah, we left the buy side liquidity here. Look at this. What is this high? This high is a quarter of a tick below those relative equal highs here, engineering and forming a beautiful smooth area on the upside for ES. And we just had have a large slide to the downside, which completely nailed the sell side liquidity. And anyone who was trying to engage with longs or hold a long from Asia/London open session, anyone who was trying to get long and hold for higher prices longer term got obliterated with this run lower right at the open. Well, interesting nonetheless. What I'm watching right now, or what I'm curious to see, is the ES low and the Nasdaq low here from yesterday's PM session. I kind of want to watch and see. Whether the lows will be matching or not. So far, gun to my head, I would say ES has a better chance to run the sell side liquidity out here because it's closer, way closer to it, while Nasdaq has a little bit more room between current market price and the sell side liquidity pool here. So yeah, gun to my head, we might see ES take the low and Nasdaq maybe fail to do so. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah, huge run up yesterday after hours. Small ranges during the Asia London pre-market, and now 9:30 huge ranges to the downside, completely overlapping the busy that was formed here and here. Very, very interesting. SMT on the highs, obviously Nasdaq making higher highs, while ES could not follow through that necessarily well. Yeah, I mean, going into 10 a.m. silver bullet, 10 to 11 silver bullet, after seeing some downfall like this, well, I mean, that gotta be a challenge here. I mean, this type of price action really makes me think Nasdaq 28 200 sell side would be in the cards. But yeah, we'll see. So ES piercing through that low, Nasdaq piercing through this fair value gap. If we do that with ease, then this low should be also followed overall. Started off of a premium opening range gap that completely got overlapped to the downside. The most logical levels on the downside still is this sell side here and this inefficiency for ES. So that's still a little bit of range left potentially on the downside, but yeah. Well. Hello, Mr. M. Zane. This is the first presented for Valley Gap, 931. We couldn't even reach up into it. Here, then price completely fall like crazy. Downfall, targeting the sell side liquidity here. It got it. Old low sell side taken, previous day's low taken. Yeah, I mean, still on the downside, we have this sell side and this inefficiency. So these are the levels that I will be watching near term, I believe. Rather than trying to call a low or anything like that. Let's see though, let's see. But right away, it's quite difficult because it seems like the majority of this run already delivered. Like it delivered over 100 handles on ES within span of 30 minutes. That's a lot of range. That's a lot of range. I'm doing just fine. Thanks for asking, Mr. M. Zane. So well, quite enormous opening range. going into the 10 to 11 silver bullet. We'll see what we get. Not trying to call a low. These are the two downside objectives that I personally would consider or potentially like to see being attacked. From the technical standpoint, from the practical standpoint, whether it's likely or not to deliver during or after this amount of range, we'll see. But I'll be sticking to those levels here on the downside. Small little fair value gap right before running out the sell side liquidity. And this weak, large weak link to it. So these two areas are somewhat salient, somewhat important on the near term upside. If it's gonna continue, any rally should be capped around consecutive encroachment of that week on the 5-minute. So yeah, Nasdaq went very, very close to this low also. And Nasdaq has a potential inversion for value gap here on that 15-minute. I mean, at least that's something to like watch and see whether it offers any sensitivity around it. But yeah, the ranges are insane, to be honest. Like 3 minutes, 164 handles of a run. That's intense. All right, so now we are seeing some measure of retracement after we've taken the sell side liquidity here out. We still have a lower draw on ES in form of liquidity and inefficiency linked together. That makes sense on the downside potentially. We did left relative eagle highs that are very, very smooth, but with this amount of drop here, I don't know, I'm not necessarily quite that confident that we should be recouping all of this right now, but well, let's see. So far, you're retracing quite a bit of this range. We smashed through the consecutive encroachment of that, 5-minute week, 5-minute bearish fair value gap completely obliterated. What I have in mind right now is this fair value gap right here. We work off of that once here. This 5-minute bearish fair value gap might be a wild card if we can go back below it later on. Same this potential inversion fair value gap. If we fail to maintain any structure above it and we go above it, I mean below it, then it could act as measure of resistance to send us to the previous day's low. All right, so we are tapping into this small little fair value gap right there. Thinking about this range from the high to low, this is still below 50%. We are storming through it right away and tapping into the premium of this entire range. I mean, 50% of the opening range is like a line in the sand in here a little bit. Right, so the next inefficiency on the upside is this fair value gap here, this inefficiency with the volume imbalance in between. And that's a premium already here. Because it's above the 50% of that range. Nasdaq seems to be less decisive or not that strong in terms of in regards of this reaction here, and it still has the sell side liquidity here that's quite possible, to say the least. All right, so we are tapping into this premium bearish fair value gap. I wonder what's the game plan here at this moment. I really wonder what they want to do. Yeah, I mean, Nasdaq has pretty jagged highs, while yeah, yes has very smooth ones. That might be a wild card here. Yeah, we stormed right back majority of this run already, not offering any fair value gap whatsoever that was tradable by any means, and the price just keeps on storming higher. Well, I mean, interesting so far. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess that the heavyweights is still on the sell side here too. It's just being a little bit obnoxious and tricky to some extent. So yeah, we are trading at this premium inefficiency here in regards to this range from high to low, 930 high, 959 low. We pierced an old low here on ES. Nasdaq failed to do so. There are still some lower targets for ES to deliver. Therefore, I don't think I want to be buying this for this session. I would prefer to stick with those. And I prefer to stick with ES because the Nasdaq has too wild of a ranges, in my opinion here. Like I would need to use at least like, I don't know, 200 handles of a stop loss, which is absurd. So yeah, I mean, this is a potential bullish inversion for value gap here. But yeah, because I would like to see a lower low for the day, I would like the price to not show any significance or discount sensitivity here, and rather go just below it and use it as resistance to send price continuously lower, potentially, right? Well. So far the price came back into this and the bodies respected this inefficiency. No close below it yet. But yeah, we went from this high to this low to some premium inefficiency, started to turning around a little bit. So I'm watching this inefficiency here particularly. And what it does, how it does. Because if we could go below it on a closing basis, we could anticipate this acting as a measure of resistance here to potentially send it towards the low. So far, we are not seeing that at all. We're seeing displacement away from it. So let's cancel this idea out for this moment. Looks like we are going to be striking the short-term buy-sell liquidity here. Nasdaq showing initial respect to this inversion here as a support too. Yeah, and we came back so much to the upside here. It's quite crazy though. It's quite crazy. I mean, at this moment, and with this reaction here, I wouldn't be too surprised if they came back for those highs, even though it's kind of crazy to think about it after this large range down and then recouping it the same session like this. Quite insane. That would have been, but yeah, we covered so much ground to the upside here, so deep of a retracement that these highs don't feel safe anymore, I would say. So now let's see, because we went on a closing basis above this inefficiency, so let's see if it can act as a bullish inversion to send price higher. I don't know, I still feel like the heavy weight is below this low. Let's see, we have a busy here. We have this potential inversion here. Nasdaq not matching the highs near term, but wouldn't be too surprised if it would match it soon. BC being closed right away. There is a small little bearish fair value gap right here. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just not confident with this price action here. I feel like I don't have this one-sidedness in me right now. I feel like it could go higher for those equal highs, but it could go lower for that lower draw here. And because I'm like torn in between, I just cannot find a very good grasp about what should I be doing. Because if I were one-sided about this, and this sensor was taken out already here, and the relative equal highs bicep would be my only draw, and I would be bullish straight up, thinking that it's gonna go there. Then I would have been buying this inversion. Then I would have been looking maybe for longs here inside of this bullish fair value gap, and I would keep looking for higher highs and eventually draw up into it, those relative equal highs, right? But in the scenario that I'm thinking that it could go lower here to the downside still and make a lower low on the day, then it's quite different, right? Because I wouldn't be necessarily buying this here. I would be looking for some inversion for value gaps to send it lower, and I would look for displacement to the downside. And that's, I mean, the situation I'm in right now feels iffy, feels 50-50, feels like I can technically outline both sides of the marketplace. I can outline the highs here, and I can outline the old low and the inefficiency on the downside. I do slightly favor the downside, but I don't know if that gives me the affinity to just go in and try to nail shorts, just because I do slightly prefer that outcome during a moment when technically the buy side, I can make some cases that it could go up there, right? Which makes this situation very problematic, to say the least, in terms of a solid navigation or solid, I don't know, bias for this particular session. And because of that, I'm a little bit confused. I don't necessarily know what and how I should engage with this session, and I'm being completely honest with you right now. I'm not trying to sell anything or sugarcoat that. Yeah, I know what will happen for sure. I feel like I can make the case for both sides, and that makes me very hesitant to engage anyhow with this market right now. But yeah, let's play the devil's advocate, and let's say as I favor the downside here, I favor the low being taken out. If that's the case, how we could or should be approaching this, right? So we have this range from high to low. We returned back to premium of that range, clearly, above 50%. Some inefficiencies here. We made a high and a higher high already. And we are at this or trading side of this busy and in between this fair value gap here, this bearish fair value gap. So if I were strongly bearish, I would like to see this bearish fair value gap to win the arm wrestling match with this busy and send it lower through this busy and use this as a potential bearish inversion fair value gap to propose or repel lower prices, right? That would be kind of like the idea that I would like to see unfold. But because I'm not sure about that draw in terms of like I can make a case for those highs here, the buy side up there. That makes me navigating a low probability condition by default. Low probability doesn't mean improbability, but right away makes my my chances of succeeding slightly worse, and or the navigation must be way more strict because like nimbleness would be more required, right? So aiming for very low hanging fruit objectives and stuff like that. And I don't know if I can afford this type of approach right now with my model here. Nasdaq is just consolidating. Yes, it's kind of too, but yeah, so in that case, in that situation, how to approach that moment in a marketplace where I could argue both sides technically. I could make an argument that it could go higher or it could go lower. How to kind of like get a better idea for it, or how to clear the picture to be more one-sided again. I would say wait for more information, and most of the times, or specifically, wait for one side of the marketplace to be tagged, and then it by default clears out the picture significantly, because then you are left with only one side of the marketplace, right? So if I can argue both sides, buy side and sell side at this moment, and let's say the buy side is being taken out first here, then the sell side is the only go-to left, right? Same with the opposite side. If we have the buy side and the sell side at the same time, and we turn around here and we go for the sell side first, right? Then the only thing left is the buy side. So it clears out the water by default, technically. But yeah, that's like the easiest way of deciphering that, right? So yeah. So far, high, higher high, and a higher high. So 3 higher highs in a row on ES into premium of this entire range. Nasdaq took relative equal highs buy side shallowly and rejects. immediately. So yeah, I mean, also the thing is that there's very easy for a mistake in here when it's like that. It's very, very easy for making a mistake. And yeah, I don't want to make silly mistakes just for the sake of taking a trade, or being aware that this is an environment that's problematic. This is an environment that I am more vulnerable to actually making a mistake. So yeah, I mean, being aware of that and still pushing the button would be somewhat of a misconception or misunderstanding. So yeah, I mean, look at the highs on Nasdaq, right? Pretty jagged, 3 higher highs. It is what it is. Nasdaq pretty heavy. Look at the highs on ES, very smooth highs, reasonable to take out. Lower low on ES, higher low on Nasdaq. Technically, SMT is on both sides of the marketplace. Technically, Nasdaq is more one-sided. Nasdaq is more prone to go lower. ES is more prone to go higher because it took the sell side here and it has this smooth level here. By default, this is problematic. This is not symmetrical markets that are meant to deliver very, very easy ideas and setups. But nonetheless, bullish inversion for value gap. We trade into it here. Let's see if we can make a higher high one more time. We do have the first presented fair value gap also here that could act as a draw on liquidity on the upside. Nice initial reaction off of that inversion fair value gap here. And I'm watching this short-term high to be taken out. Yeah, I can feel you, Yoet. This week has or had a pretty rough price action. I would say for myself too, it wasn't the easiest one. I mean, there were some sessions that were better than others, that's for sure. Or I would say there were like stellar sessions many times during Asia, and then many times the rest of the day was like more wonky, more iffy, and stuff like that. And yeah, yeah, that's actually very weird. There is this shift, this weird shift to Asia, but yeah, Asia is impossible for me. Through lately, a lot of nice price action during that time. But yeah, it's midnight where I live. Like it's like in the middle of the night. It's past midnight. I could not. It's 2 a.m. 2 3 a.m. my local time. Asia, no way. I will go there. So I'm basically left with what's there for either London AM session or PM session. But yeah, so far the price isn't really giving me much to work with. I live in Poland, so it's kind of close to Romania, but yeah, Poland. Yeah, Asian session for USA is definitely more convenient, I would say. But yeah, there are some upfalls and downfalls to everything, probably. I mean, after all, you can't be 24-hour uh, around the clock every session because yeah, it would be too much. Unless maybe you would only do like the silver bullet, 1 hour here, 1 hour there, and not do anything else. Then maybe that would round up, but still challenging as hell. Well, Nasdaq is reacting off of this lower fair value gap here. Couldn't even get up into this large CB. Yes, did, and it's showing a little bit of a turnaround here. It couldn't sustain this as a bullish inversion fair value gap. It tried initially, but failed to make this higher high, and then it went below it. So now this is technically a bearish reclaimed fair value gap that could see lower prices altogether. And with that said, or at this moment, I would slightly favor the downside a little bit more, taking in consideration only this price action here that we saw so far. And why would that be so? Because we pressed into a premium of this range, made few higher highs up into it, inversed bullishly this fair value gap, respected nicely with the bodies here, and tried, or we should have made a higher high here. We failed to do so. Off of a potentially bullish array, it failed to deliver higher prices right there. And then price traded below it, below this bearish fair value gap initially. So now it should act as a bearish fair value gap, original function. And the liquidity on the downside would be here on a very near-term basis, right? So from here to here, that's like the range of opportunity that would be available, I would say. So it's around 25 handles if it could maintain this weakness. So can there be like a opportunity inside of that? Maybe yes, maybe no. But is that something that I necessarily would like to touch? Probably not. I actually didn't knew or didn't heard this joke, but yeah, there is something to it. There is something to it. They tried. I mean, many tried. So yeah, not an easy history for our country here. But I think we are doing good now. Yeah, yes, pushing through this above it. It should not close below it at this point. It should not. If it's gonna go higher towards the buy side, it should not go below this on a closing basis. Because if it would fail to take this buy side here now and come back below it, I would literally take a short there. Well, I mean that's actually interesting. Where are you from, Simon? Though, are you from the area here or another part of the world? somewhat of an idea, but yeah, we are going for another short-term high, new high, I believe. And we are in such a close proximity to the first presentation that I would say it should probably go for that near term. And then probably because the buy side is so smooth, I would take a bet that we could see a run on that buy side, especially for ES. Nasdaq less likely to do so, but ES could definitely do that. I could imagine it. All right, fair enough. Fair enough, Simon. I still have no idea, but I trust you. Yeah, I mean, as it looks like here, it's just pressing higher, and this first presentation makes near term obviously much sense. It's likely to tap into it. But then if we go above it clearly or easily, then the buy side would be the go-to idea, and that's pretty insane of a session here. Enormous, huge drop lower initially, and then reclaiming that slowly but surely to the upside. Mm, but yeah, I personally couldn't get a very clean read on the price here, in terms of like engaging with it. So it is what it is, kinda. So yeah, a couple of higher highs into deep premium of this range. If it's meant to fail to reach the buy side right away, that's around the area where it could do it. That's why I marked this little fair value gap here as a potential inversion. But yeah, it feels still too iffy for me to engage this. Even if it would be offered. Yeah, I mean, I would say if these highs weren't this smooth, if the buy side here was not this smooth, I would be more prompt to entertain a short idea around these levels here, and I would be more confident to go with that. But because they left it this clean, I just don't trust it that much. I guess. I know it's kind of weird how to explain it, but yeah, quite a large displacement off of this little one. Went back below this here and down into this busy. Sell side near term is obviously here. And that would be something to watch maybe. But again, if the buy side wasn't that smooth, I would be more prompt to look for actual shorts here and attack sell side. Because it's there, I don't know, it might want to go up and clear that out first. And because it's like that, it's 50-50, and because it's 50-50, I will just pass. So this is it for me for this session. And I'll be glad to see what it does going into the lunch. And I'll be actually back for the PM session. So we'll see how I will be able to navigate that. Because yeah, here it is what it is, I suppose. So nonetheless, thanks for watching. Kudos to you for staying with me, and see you guys during the PM.